The small, nondescript ship hurtled through the void of space, its hull shimmering in the light of distant stars. Inside, Commander Lena Orlov scanned the data on her console, her sharp green eyes narrowing as she analyzed the latest readings. They were close now. She could feel it. The distress signal had been weak, barely a blip on their radar, but it was enough to lead her and her crew to this remote sector of the galaxy. "Lena, we're approaching the coordinates," said Dr. Malik Zaman, the ship's science officer, his voice steady despite the underlying tension. Lena nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "Prepare for landing, Malik, and keep an eye on those sensors. We don't know what we're walking into." The rest of the crew, seasoned veterans of countless missions, went about their tasks with practiced efficiency. Lieutenant Maria Santos, the ship's engineer, was already at the helm, guiding the ship towards the barren, rocky planet below. Beside her, Sergeant Ethan Hayes, the security officer, checked his weapons, his rugged face set in a grim expression. As they descended, Lena's thoughts drifted back to the mission briefing. A small human colony, established years ago for mining rare minerals, had gone dark. No communication, no signs of life. It was as if the entire colony had vanished. But the distress signal, faint as it was, suggested otherwise. The ship touched down with a soft thud, the engines humming as they powered down. Lena led her team out into the harsh, alien landscape, their suits protecting them from the thin, toxic atmosphere. The colony loomed ahead, a cluster of buildings half buried in the rocky terrain, eerily silent. "Stay sharp, everyone," Lena ordered, her voice crackling over the comms. "We don't know what's out there." They moved cautiously through the colony, the silence pressing down on them. Buildings stood empty, doors ajar, as if the inhabitants had left in a hurry. Lena's heart sank as they entered the main control center, finding it in disarray. Equipment was scattered, and the power was barely functioning. "Commander, over here," called Maria, her voice tinged with urgency. Lena hurried over to find Maria and Malik standing over a console, its screen flickering with static. Malik tapped a few keys, bringing up a grainy video feed. The image was shaky, but it showed a group of colonists, their faces pale and gaunt, huddled together in a makeshift shelter. "We need to find them," Lena said, determination hardening her features. "They can't be far." As they followed the trail deeper into the colony, Lena's team encountered signs of a struggle, scorch marks on walls, debris scattered across the ground. It wasn't long before they found the shelter, a small building on the outskirts of the colony. Lena motioned for Ethan to take point, his rifle at the ready. They breached the door, sweeping inside to find a dozen colonists, their eyes widening in fear and relief. A middle-aged man stepped forward, his face lined with exhaustion. "Thank God you're here," he said, his voice cracking. "I'm David, the colony leader." Lena stepped forward, her gaze steady. "David, what happened here?" David took a deep breath, his eyes haunted. "It started a few weeks ago. We detected an alien presence, something we've never encountered before. They attacked without warning, took our people. We've been hiding ever since." "Aliens?" Malik echoed, his brow furrowing. "Why didn't you call for help sooner?" David shook his head. "We tried, but our communications were jammed. We managed to send out a distress signal, but we didn't know if anyone would hear it." Lena exchanged a glance with her team. "We're here now. We'll get you to safety." As they began to escort the colonists back to the ship, a sudden noise stopped them in their tracks. A low, guttural growl echoed through the corridor, sending a chill down Lena's spine. She turned to see a massive, shadowy figure emerge from the darkness, its eyes glowing with an eerie light. "Ethan, Maria, get the colonists back to the ship," Lena shouted, drawing her weapon. "Malik, with me." The team sprang into action, Ethan and Maria herding the colonists towards safety, while Lena and Malik faced the creature. It was unlike anything they had seen before. Tall and sinewy, with elongated limbs and razor-sharp claws. The creature lunged, and Lena fired, the bullets barely slowing it down. Malik threw a plasma grenade, the explosion lighting up the corridor and sending the creature reeling. "We need to fall back," Lena said, her voice tight with urgency. "This thing is too strong." They retreated, firing as they went, the creature hot on their heels. Just as they reached the exit, a second creature appeared, cutting off their escape. Lena's heart pounded as she realized they were trapped. Thinking quickly, Lena activated her suit's emergency beacon, hoping to draw the rest of her team back to their location. The creatures closed in, their eyes burning with a predatory hunger. Just as all seemed lost, the doors burst open and Ethan and Maria charged in, weapons blazing. "Get down!" Ethan shouted, throwing a smoke grenade. The room filled with thick, choking smoke, obscuring the creature's vision. Seizing the opportunity, Lena and Malik sprinted towards the exit, the creature's roars echoing behind them. They made it out just as the smoke cleared, the creature snarling in frustration. "That was too close," Maria said, her voice shaking with adrenaline. Lena nodded, her mind racing. "We need to get off this planet. There's no telling how many more of those things are out there." They regrouped at the ship, the colonists huddled together in fear. David approached Lena, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you. We wouldn't have survived without you." "We're not out of this yet," Lena replied, her voice resolute. "Let's get everyone on board and get the hell out of here." As the ship lifted off, Lena breathed a sigh of relief. But her relief was short-lived. Malik's console beeped urgently, drawing his attention. "Commander, we've got a problem," he said, his voice tense. "The creatures, they're on the ship." Lena's blood ran cold. "How many?" "2, maybe 3, Malik replied. "They're in the cargo hold." Lena turned to her team, her eyes steely. "Ethan, Maria, Malik, gear up. We're going hunting." They moved through the ship with practiced precision, the corridors eerily silent. As they approached the cargo hold, the sound of metal scraping against metal sent shivers down Lena's spine. "Stay sharp," she whispered, motioning for Ethan to open the door. The door slid open, revealing the creatures lurking in the shadows. They turned, their eyes glowing with malevolent intent. Lena fired, her team following suit, the air filled with the sounds of gunfire and snarls. One creature went down, but the others charged, their claws slashing through the air. Ethan was knocked back, his weapon skidding across the floor. Malik threw another grenade, the explosion staggering the creatures but not stopping them. Lena's mind raced. They were running out of options. Desperation fueled her as she activated the ship's emergency containment protocol, sealing the cargo hold with the creatures inside. "That should hold them," Lena said, her voice strained. "But we need to get rid of them for good." They made their way to the ship's control center, where Lena activated the ship's self-destruct sequence for the cargo hold. The creatures pounded against the reinforced doors, their roars muffled by the thick metal. "Everyone, brace yourselves," Lena ordered, her hand hovering over the final confirmation button. With a deep breath, she pressed the button. The ship shuddered as the cargo hold was engulfed in a fiery explosion. The creature's roars abruptly silenced. Lena exhaled, relief washing over her. "It's done," she said, turning to her team. "Let's get these colonists to safety." The journey to the nearest human outpost was tense. The colonists, still shaken from their ordeal, huddled together in the common area, their eyes darting nervously. Lena and her team kept a vigilant watch, the weight of responsibility heavy on their shoulders. In the control room, Malik monitored the ship's systems, ensuring there were no more unwanted surprises. "Everything looks stable," he reported, glancing at Lena. "No more signs of those creatures." "Good," Lena replied, her voice wary but resolute. "We can't afford any more incidents." Maria, busy repairing some minor damage to the ship's systems, looked up. "What do you think those creatures were, Commander?" Lena shook her head, her expression thoughtful. "I don't know, Maria. But whatever they were unlike anything we've ever encountered. We need to report this to command as soon as we reach the outpost." Ethan, who had been quietly cleaning his weapons, spoke up. "Do you think there are more of them out there?" Lena's eyes darkened. "It's possible. And if there are, we need to be prepared. Humanity can't afford to be caught off guard again." As they approached the outpost, Lena received a priority message from command. She excused herself and headed to the communication room, her mind racing with questions. The screen flickered to life, revealing Admiral Jameson, his stern face filling the display. "Commander Orlov," he began, his voice gravelly, "we've received your preliminary report. What can you tell us about the situation?" Lena recounted the events in detail, describing the creatures and the colonists' plight. Jameson's expression grew grimmer with each word. "This is troubling news, Commander," he said finally. "We haven't encountered these creatures before. They pose a significant threat." "Agreed, sir," Lena replied. "We need to understand what we're dealing with and find a way to protect our colonies." Jameson nodded. "I'll assemble a team of scientists and military strategists to analyze your findings. In the meantime, your priority is to ensure the safety of those colonists. We'll have a debriefing upon your arrival." "Understood, sir," Lena said, saluting before the screen went dark. As she returned to the control room, Lena's thoughts were heavy. The implications of this new threat were staggering. They needed answers, and fast. At the outpost, the colonists were given medical attention and debriefed. Lena and her team were welcomed as heroes, but the weight of their mission still hung over them. The outpost's commander, Colonel Reed, met with Lena in his office, a grim expression on his face. "Commander Orlov, your report was quite thorough," Reed said, his tone respectful. "But we need more information about these creatures. We can't risk another attack." "I agree, Colonel," Lena replied. "I've already discussed this with Admiral Jameson. We need to send a reconnaissance team back to the colony to gather more data." Reed raised an eyebrow. "That's a risky proposition. Those creatures are still out there." Lena's eyes were steely with determination. "We can't let fear paralyze us, Colonel. We need to understand our enemy if we're going to defeat it." Reed nodded slowly. "Very well. I'll authorize the mission. But be careful, Lena. We can't afford to lose you or your team." Equipped with advanced scanning equipment and additional firepower, Lena and her team prepared to return to the abandoned colony. The journey back was tense, each member of the crew silently steeling themselves for what lay ahead. As they descended towards the colony, Malik's sensors picked up faint energy signatures. "There are still power sources active down there," he reported. "It looks like some of the colony's systems are still operational." "Let's use that to our advantage," Lena said. "We can access the colony's mainframe and gather data on the creatures." They landed a safe distance from the colony, moving cautiously towards the control center. The silence was oppressive, the memory of their previous encounter fresh in their minds. Inside the control center, Malik hacked into the colony's mainframe, his fingers flying over the keys. "I've got something," he said, his voice tinged with excitement. "There are logs here, scientific data on the creatures." Lena leaned over his shoulder, scanning the information. "It looks like the colonists were studying them. They called them Shadow Stalkers. According to these logs, the creatures are highly intelligent and capable of mimicking their prey. That's why they were so hard to kill," Ethan muttered. "They were adapting to our tactics." Maria, who had been keeping watch, spoke up. "Commander, we need to get this data back to command. It's too valuable to risk losing." Lena nodded. "You're right. Let's pack up and head back to the ship. We've got what we came for." As they made their way back to the ship, Malik's sensors detected movement. "We've got company," he said, his voice tense. Shadow Stalkers closing in fast. Lena's heart pounded. Everyone, move. We need to get to the ship now. The team broke into a run, the creatures' guttural growls growing louder behind them. They reached the ship just as the first Shadow Stalker appeared, its claws glinting in the dim light. Ethan, cover us, Lena shouted, ushering the team inside. Ethan fired, his shots precise and deadly, but the creatures were relentless. As the last team member boarded the ship, Ethan was knocked down, a creature pinning him to the ground. No! Lena screamed, grabbing her weapon and firing at the creature. The Shadow Stalker howled in pain, releasing Ethan just long enough for him to scramble to his feet and dive into the ship. Malik slammed the hatch shut, the creature's roars muffled outside. Get us out of here, Maria, Lena ordered, her voice shaking with urgency. Maria didn't need to be told twice. She engaged the engines, the ship lifting off and rocketing away from the planet. Back at the outpost, the data they had retrieved was analyzed by top scientists. The Shadow Stalkers' biology and behavior were studied, leading to the development of new weapons and defenses, specifically designed to counter their threat. Lena and her team were commended for their bravery, their names becoming legends among the human colonies. But the experience had changed them. They knew that the universe was vast and full of unknown dangers, and humanity would need to be ever vigilant. In the quiet moments after the debriefing, Lena found herself alone in her quarters, staring out at the stars. The weight of responsibility was heavy, but she knew they had made a difference. They had faced the unknown and emerged victorious, their unyielding resolve shining as a beacon of hope in the vast darkness of space. As she turned away from the window, Lena's thoughts turned to the future. There would be more challenges, more threats, but she and her team would face them head-on. For in the heart of every human burned a fire that could never be extinguished, a testament to their indomitable spirit and unyielding resolve.